Hey, what's up guys? So now that we're about 1 week into patch 7.12, I wanted to go over the changes that took place and how they're affecting bot lane and how they're going to affect bot lane in the future. So AD carry's been a little stagnant lately, even with the changes that Riot's been trying to push towards kind of changing the meta up a little bit. We're still seeing pretty much the same AD carries be strong. We're seeing a lot of Caitlyn still, we're seeing a lot of Draven, we're seeing a lot of Twitch, Ziya's still been a good pick. And I'm curious what Riot wants to do with these next coming patches to try and change this meta up a little bit, because I know they want to change it, and I'm curious what they're going to do to try and get that change to happen. And that leads me to the first champion that I want to talk about today, and that's Jhin. So since the lethality nerfs a few months ago, we haven't really seen Jhin at all lately. His build hasn't really been good right now with the meta, with how great Blade of the Ruined King has been for a lot of people. He really doesn't fit into that archetype for an AD carry, but he does fit into the mold for a crit champion, and like I've said before, that's something that Riot seems to be pushing and trying to get more crit champions to come out to spice up the meta a little bit. So with the nerfs to Blade of the Ruined King, and then also the nerf to Doran Shield, and the buffs from this patch right here, I think Jin's going to start making a little bit of a resurgence. So what they did was they lowered the base damage on his Q by 5 damage per level, so it's not really that much of a nerf to the base damage, but they also upped the AD ratio on it by a decent amount, especially since Jhin, he has so much AD at the end of the game because of his passive. You're really going to feel this at the end of the game. They're also buffing his ultimate base damage per shot that connects with the target. So you're going to see more damage output on his ultimate, which means on that last crit shot of the ultimate, you're going to get a bigger execute because your first 3 shots did more damage. And I do think the buffs from this patch are going to bring Jhin to be a viable AD carry again. I don't think he's going to be top tier like some of the other choices that you have, but he's okay now to play, and I think if there's a couple more things that get buffed to him, we're really going to see him be a top AD carry again soon. So the only other change to an AD carry on this patch was the nerf to Ziya, and I don't think that it was necessary. I don't think she's too strong right now. I think she's in a really good spot, so we'll see how these nerfs really affect her and her win rate. So what they changed her was on her Q, when you activate it, you no longer can get that auto attack right after to get that third feather down, so you can always have your root, and which is something that she really abused in lane and made her a really strong overall pick. I think this is going to make her really bad in lane now. That was the one thing that you could always rely on, especially if you were getting a gank. You could step up, use your Q, auto, use your E, you get a root, your support can follow up, and your jungler can follow up. So now she is kind of a lot less utility based, and that's really going to hurt her early on. So we'll see how significantly harder it is to land her root in lane. I still think it's going to be a little bit too hard, especially for people who are new to Ziya, to get that root down, but you want to have that consistent root for her to have a high win rate. So we'll see what happens with this. And the other nerf that they placed on Ziya was they're nerfing her W attack speed steroid at all levels by 4 seconds. And this is just going to ultimately just affect the amount of DPS that she can put out. If you do have an extended team fight in the mid or late game, she's not going to have access to that ability again, which is really going to hurt the amount of feathers she can place down and really just hurt her DPS in general. So we'll see how Ziya is after this patch. I think this puts a few other AD carries in front of her on the tier list that other people are going to start picking, but we'll see if she still has a decent win rate come the end of this patch. And the only other change that happened to bot lane is the Karma nerfs, which thank God they are finally nerfing Garma. So they decreased her shield at later ranks, but at early ranks it's going to stay about the same. Rank 1 is going to be the same, rank 2 is going to be a little bit different, and then as you put more points into it, it's going to get weaker and weaker. And they're also nerfing the Mantra shield, so instead of it being 50% of the primary target shield placed on everybody around her, it's now 30% of the target shield. So you're going to see a big nerf late game here with these big team-wide shields, which is definitely something that needs to happen. With how strong shields are right now and how in the meta shield champions are, this change is something that needs to happen, and hopefully we see some changes with some other champions as well. Like Lulu is another example that needs to be changed here and nerfed a little bit. But we'll see how Riot likes this change. They might start nerfing other shielding champions here pretty soon, but I think they might be using Karma as an example to see if this nerf really actually works, or if they need to find a different way to help break the shield meta that we're in. And that about wraps it up for all the changes in this patch here. There wasn't a lot of changes that happened to bot lane. There's been some support item changes, which I don't really want to go over those since I want to focus more on AD carry changes or AD item changes. But to go over it briefly, we're going to see a lot less enchanter supports, and we're going to see a lot more tank supports, which is something I want to see. I want to see a lot more Brahms. I want to see a lot more Alistars. For me as an AD carry, that's a lot more fun to change up the meta and have these different supports come out. But we shall see how the community reacts to these changes and if they actually do change up the meta. So if you've made it this far in the video, I really do appreciate you sticking around till the end. Please go ahead, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think of my analysis here. Let me know what you think of these new changes, how they're going to affect bot lane. So for now, I wish you luck in your solo queue games, and I'll see you guys next time.